Korea held immense strategic importance for both China and Japan. Located strategically between the two countries, Korea served as a crucial land bridge for potential invasions. For centuries, China had considered Korea a vital buffer state, protecting its northeastern borders from potential threats. Japan viewed Korea as a stepping stone for its own expansionist ambitions. Control of Korea would provide Japan with valuable resources and a strategic foothold on the Asian mainland. The Joseon dynasty in Korea found itself caught in a complex geopolitical web. While acknowledging Chinese suzerainty, Korea also sought to maintain its independence and navigate the growing influence of Japan. This delicate balancing act became increasingly untenable as Sino-Japanese tensions escalated, drawing Korea into a conflict it could not control. The mid-19th century marked a turning point in Japanese history. The arrival of American Commodore Matthew Perry in 1853 forced Japan to end its self-imposed isolation and open its doors to the West. This event triggered a period of intense introspection and reform known as the Meiji Restoration. Recognizing the technological and military superiority of Western powers, Japan embarked on an ambitious program of modernization. The Meiji government implemented sweeping reforms aiming to transform Japan into a modern, industrialized nation-state. They introduced a new conscript army, established a modern navy, and promoted rapid industrialization. As Japan grew stronger, its ambitions expanded beyond its own shores. Japanese leaders began to see their country as the rightful dominant power in East Asia. Korea, with its strategic importance, became a focal point of these ambitions, setting the stage for the clash with China. As Japan modernized, Korea faced its own internal struggles. The Joseon dynasty, weakened by corruption and economic stagnation, struggled to maintain order and resist foreign encroachment. This instability created an opportunity for both China and Japan to increase their influence in Korean affairs. China dispatched troops to Korea in 1882 to quell a rebellion and support the Korean government. Japan, viewing this move as a threat, also sent troops, leading to a tense standoff. The presence of Chinese and Japanese forces on Korean soil heightened tensions. Internal power struggles within the Korean court further destabilized the situation, making Korea a pawn in the larger geopolitical game. The simmering tensions in Korea finally boiled over in 1894 with the outbreak of the Tonak Rebellion. The rebellion, rooted in peasant grievances, quickly spread throughout the Korean countryside. Faced with a growing insurgency, the Korean government appealed to China for military assistance. China's intervention provided Japan with the pretext it needed to intervene militarily. Citing the 1885 Convention of Tientsin, Japan dispatched its own forces to the peninsula. The arrival of Japanese troops transformed the Tonak Rebellion from a domestic uprising into an international conflict. With both Chinese and Japanese forces now operating on Korean soil, the stage was set for a direct military confrontation. The first major clash between Chinese and Japanese forces occurred in September 1894 at the Battle of Pongyang. The Chinese forces, outmatched in terms of training and weaponry, were soundly defeated by the more modern Japanese army. The Japanese victory at Pongyang had significant strategic and symbolic implications. It demonstrated the effectiveness of Japan's modernized military and its ability to defeat Chinese forces. The victory also gave Japan control of northern Korea, paving the way for their advance into Manchuria. The defeat at Pongyang exposed the weaknesses of the Qing military. The Battle of Pongyang proved to be a turning point in the war, establishing Japanese military dominance. While the land battle raged in Korea, a decisive naval encounter occurred just days after the Battle of Pongyang. The Battle of the Yalu River, fought on September 17, 1894, pitted the Imperial Japanese Navy against the Beiyang fleet. The Japanese fleet, commanded by Admiral Ito Sukeyuki, was smaller but possessed superior training and technology. The Japanese ships were faster, more maneuverable, and equipped with more powerful guns. The Chinese fleet, commanded by Admiral Ding Ruchang, was hampered by outdated vessels and inadequate training. The Battle of the Yalu River ended in a decisive Japanese victory, giving Japan unchallenged naval supremacy in the Yellow Sea. This victory allowed Japan to control the sea lanes and further isolate Chinese forces in Korea. With their victories at Pongyang and the Yalu River, Japanese forces continued their advance into Manchuria. This resource-rich region in northeastern China held strategic importance for both countries. For Japan, Manchuria represented a valuable prize, rich in natural resources and industrial potential. For China, the loss of Manchuria would be a significant blow both economically and strategically. The Japanese advance into Manchuria was met with little resistance. The Qing government, weakened by internal strife, proved unable to halt the Japanese advance. By the spring of 1895, Japanese forces had occupied much of southern Manchuria, including the port city of Lushunkou, Port Arthur. The occupation of Manchuria gave Japan a significant advantage in the war. With the tide of war clearly turned in their favor, Japan sought to secure its gains and bring the conflict to a swift conclusion. In March 1895, peace negotiations began in the Japanese city of Shimonoseki. The Chinese delegation, led by Li Hongjiang, was forced to accept humiliating terms dictated by the victorious Japanese. The Treaty of Shimonoseki, signed in April 1895, formally ended the First Sino-Japanese War. The treaty imposed harsh terms on China, including the cession of Taiwan, the Pescadores Islands, and the Liaodong Peninsula to Japan. The Treaty of Shimonoseki represented a humiliating defeat for China and a significant victory for Japan. The treaty's terms also sowed the seeds for future conflict as other foreign powers moved to curtail Japan's gains. The First Sino-Japanese War had profound and far-reaching consequences for East Asia. In the immediate aftermath of the war, the balance of power in the region shifted dramatically. Japan emerged from the conflict as a major power, its military prowess and imperial ambitions on full display. China, on the other hand, was left weakened and humiliated, its international prestige tarnished. The war also had significant implications for Korea. While nominally granted independence, Korea found itself increasingly under the sway of its Japanese neighbor. The Treaty of Shimonoseki marked the beginning of Japan's formal colonization of Korea. The war's outcome sent shockwaves through the international community, leading to the triple intervention by Russia, France, and Germany. The First Sino-Japanese War had long-term implications for East Asia, shaping the region's political landscape for decades to come. The war marked a turning point in the history of Japanese imperialism. Emboldened by its victory over China, Japan embarked on a path of further expansion and militarization. The war also contributed to the growing instability in China. The Qing dynasty, already weakened by internal rebellion, was further discredited by its defeat. The humiliation of the Treaty of Shimonoseki fueled nationalist sentiment in China, contributing to the eventual overthrow of the Qing dynasty. The First Sino-Japanese War also intensified rivalry among the great powers in East Asia, leading to the Russo-Japanese War. The First Sino-Japanese War from 1894 to 1895 stands as a pivotal event in the history of East Asia. It marked the end of China's centuries-long dominance in the region and the emergence of Japan as a major power. The war's outcome had profound consequences for all involved, reshaping the balance of power. The war highlighted the dramatic changes brought about by Japan's Meiji Restoration. Japan's rapid modernization and militarization allowed it to defeat a larger adversary. The conflict also exposed the weakness and decline of the Qing dynasty, contributing to its eventual downfall. The legacy of the First Sino-Japanese War continued to resonate throughout the 20th century, influencing the course of events leading up to World War II.